Hello, everyone. Blessings to you. It's Reverend HoniB of Ascension Alchemists. And oh my goodness, this is the fourth episode. So, this is my solo episode, and I have not come up with the name for it yet. And as I shared as we started, it's raw and real. So, while we are in the midst of this training in this first week, I am taking one step at a time. It is unscripted, and I get to share as it is happening, raw, real, in real time. And I feel this space is very important because I get to be me. I get to relax back. I get to share with you behind the scenes and also through the current affairs, especially this past week, as the focus of mine is all about embodiment of the ascension, which means to truly embody that eternal light presence, that God presence, and to live it so that we can be a blessing in our life and be a blessing to the world. So how do we really do that? And to minister this is to actually walk it, and to walk it is everyday life, right? So here it is, this past week, it only makes sense to talk about it with some of the news that took place with this level of violence. So as we launched this last week, we are also meeting. It was actually on Sunday, right? The podcast on Apple and Spotify came out, which was super exciting. And it was more exciting because there was this technical part that I am stretching myself in learning about. And I don't really know. There's so much I don't know in this area. And it's exciting, it's humbling because I can speak in the space of the God presence, the mighty I am presence. That's a space that I exude in it, I breathe in it, I live in it. It's my morning, it's my afternoon, it's my evening. And then of course is all these different tasks throughout the day. So to be able to bring it to the area that's very uncomfortable in my human self, which is technicality, all these technical things regarding how to set up, how to get it started. So I felt so proud of myself that I was able to stretch myself. And those of you that know me, you know there's some areas that is just not my area. However, what happens is when I just relax back, I allow my human self to just relax back and take the back seat, and I call in God presence. So from that God presence, suddenly I can make the most spectacular logo. I don't even know how that was done. And or for example, write a book in 3 hours. That's how my book, The Day I Became a Superhero, was written. I had nothing to do with it. My human self had nothing to do with it. I don't even know how that was written because it wasn't me. And till this day, I'm a little bit no, a little bit shy about it because there's this presence that comes in, and that's my continuous message. On our own is good on our human self, yet with mighty God presence, everything is possible. And I've witnessed that over and over and over, including my car. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if some of you saw it, where the check engine light came on, and out of nowhere, my car is a very healthy car, and I just knew. I didn't panic or anything. I said I'm going to pray over it because it's just consciousness. And as I prayed over it, I called the eternal light presence over the car, and it was, it was the check engine light went off. Let's just put it that way. So, having said that, why I'm sharing this is that this God presence comes into our everyday life. And last week we had a really difficult news to bear as a society from Irina, and then 2 days ago with Charlie. while this is happening, my podcast has launched. It's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon Music, and trying to set it up on YouTube and all, what is it, 12 more platforms as well, which is super exciting. So there's this inside of me really joyous, and then boom, we hit these news, which is life, right? This is life. So then it becomes, how do we meet these news that is difficult to bear? It's hard to hear. As a society, we don't really handle it very well, I have to say, because each of us are in different spaces, right? And by the way, I spoke about this. I already recorded my Sunday service video, which comes out on Sunday, and got a chance to talk a lot about it. So I found myself, and I usually don't get involved with these conversations, yet I felt guided to have this conversation. So here we are as a society going through it together. Each of us are placed in different part in our journey that is experiencing this as a reality, including me. And each of us have a contribution. Even those who are very angry, even those who are taking sides, even those who are going down the rabbit hole for conspiracy, even those who are in prayer like me, or peace, or even those who are super angry and hatred. So there's a place for everyone. I come from the lens of non-judgment because I am coming from the lens of God mighty presence. So when I'm aligned with that eternal light, that inner Christ light, and I'm embodying it, bring it through all these bodies, and then meeting these news that come out, how do I meet it? So this becomes the everyday experience, whether it's the news and the media, or, for example, the week before, a call came in with my family dealing with that, and also allowing God presence to be so present in me so that I can lean on it greater. Has this always been the case for me? No, for sure not. I've fallen so many times. I don't know about you all. Lost my grip, move into panic attack, and devastated and worried. And there have been times when, for example, something would happen to my family, I'll just show up like a champ, and I'll be able to handle everything in such a profound way. And then a couple of days later, then suddenly, then I would have a crash, because my nervous system would then catch up with the emotions and the feelings and the thoughts and all of that stuff, and then would need several days to just recuperate out of it. So it is a journey. It is a journey of this ebb and flow. It's a journey of attempting to have greater understanding while we're in the human form. In my human form, I'm very aware I have a limited lens in which I'm seeing through. I have limited capacity of understanding, awareness, compassion, love. And yet what I have found, and this is much more so a lot more recently, within the last 3.5 years, and I would say even last year and a half, the more I am literally sitting in God's presence, and I'm experiencing grace in my bodies. So my awareness is tuned in with grace, and all my bodies, that means my etheric body, my mental body, my emotional body, my physical body, all are experiencing this grace on the inside. Somehow there's this deeper observer presence that is doing the looking through me out, and I'm very much in touch with that, and it is allowing me to see reality as it is taking place or has taken place, yet from a place of much more gracious, kind, loving, compassionate, deeper way, where I found that that lens of judgment has shifted in me, because I was very, maybe some of you have experienced this. I was very aware that when I would see things through my human lens, I had judgment towards individuals and their choices. Yet, as I began to lean back in the presence of God Almighty in me as the observer, I noticed the lens in which I'm looking through, that is then looking through my human eyes, is very loving, is so understanding, is so compassionate. And the more I sat in here, the more I started to experience this nectar of glorious beauty and love on the inside. And of course, some of you are part of my ministry. On Monday night, we get to sit in the meditation of the I am presence, and we get to really experience this on the inside, because it is not a nectar that is responsible for anybody else to give to us. It is an internal job, and it comes from within. So while this is happening, we get to experience also the contrasting reality on the outside. And I found that we are given the opportunity to either go into all these other areas that is different timelines, and individuals are on their journeys, they are taking part. Yet when you are in your own awareness, you get to choose where you want to drop in. And there is no right or wrong here. It's just, if you happen to have more of that awareness, for example, this week, because I was able to maintain being more in the observer, the awareness lens, I did not go into these other areas. Therefore, I didn't go into choosing a feeling that was dense, or an emotion that was dense, or a thought that was dense, and I didn't allow my mind to go anywhere. I just stayed very neutral in my heart, and I wanted to have this communion with God, and asking questions and going into prayer, and in that expecting greater understanding, and knowing that God doesn't make mistake. So if somebody's life has ended, who are we to say that, yes, the assassin did that, yet who are we to say that was his length of time? God Almighty is the decision maker. Even with the beautiful lady Arena, same thing. So these are some of the things that I sit with and have contemplation and be in wonderment while it's happening. There is all these other things happening. Do any of you feel this way? And I apologize, I just have to put the battery in here. So let me just put a battery in here before the battery goes out, as I had not prepared that properly. So please excuse me as you hear a little bit of the sound behind the scene. Sorry about that. So how are you all doing? How did you respond? Where were you in your journey, on your thoughts, on your emotions, on your feeling? Did you find yourself picking sides? Did you find yourself being emotionally wrapped up? Were you able to be centered? Were you able to be in this place of non-judgment? Whatever you did I'm no one to judge. I'm just curious how you maneuvered, and what were the challenges you had? What were the difficulties you had? Or were you able to meet this situation and be able to actually put a pause on it and be able to maybe allow grace to lead through you so that way you can be a calming energy in the midst of chaos? I felt that was my role this past week. And there's a lot that's going to unveil out of this. I was journaling, also talking to God. I was like, I know you have a divine plan. My human self cannot see it, yet I know, just as always, there's something that happens and you show up in such a spectacular way, and there's this clarity that humans didn't have. And for those that tune in, they get to experience the clarity, the perfection, the wisdom, the aha, and how it was a part of this greater orchestration. I'm very much excited in being embraced by that witnessing of conviction. So curious to see if any of you are in that place. And again, also disturbance. There's this disturbance, right, as news, and it's coming in. So I look at these as wave patterns, It's like the ocean, there is this calm ocean, and then these wave pattern come and disrupts the ocean. So how does that play out, right? It's quite a fascinating experience. And it is not that I'm emotionally removed. I am very much in touch with all the emotions. The place that I am in devotion to is this self-mastery. And it's also what Michael and I have been teaching the last 9 months. To go through the beliefs, to go through the thoughts, to go through the emotions, to be able to discuss them, to be able to see what's a trigger, to be able to journal them, to be able to move them out of our field, to be able to heal it within, and to be able to then have the ability to pause to then choose the feeling, pause to choose the thought, pause to choose the emotion, pause to choose where the mind is going to direct it. If you would have asked me this even 5 years ago, that you can really do this, I would have been like, no way, because my emotional body was so inflamed. And, if something would take place, it would really rattle my system. And I'm sure some of you have experienced this as well. And it really took a while for me to go do even deeper work on the inside. And the deeper work has been sitting with God, really, being very open with God, and be very open with God to meet some of these unhealed areas in me. Even though I'm 53, let's see, my healing journey started since I was 19. I've gone through so many layers of healing and healing and seeking healers, and including myself, and many different areas of becoming a very highly evolved teacher, advanced conscious teacher. And I found the work that I'm doing now, that's become very simple. It was the work that I needed for me first, where God is helping me to be so close in that space, and raw and open and honest, so that from within I'm receiving the help. And that's the major transformation that has taken place in me, which has been the contribution of aligning in that presence to embody it. So my daily devotion has been, how do I embody more of that truth so God Almighty can handle things through my body, not my human self being in the forefront as it has been the majority of my life. How many of you can relate to that, just out of curiosity? I'm very, very curious. I'm winging this because So many with podcasters, they said, oh, you have to have a script or you have to have this schedule with all the topics you want to talk about. And I found that doesn't work for me because I love being raw. I love being real. I love being in real time as life is happening. Let me speak through as life happens. For those of you that watch my Sunday service videos, they're short, they're usually 7 minutes or less. Those are happening in real time that I share. It's what's happening. I I really do not prepare because I was asked 20 years ago not to prepare. This intelligence from within wanted to speak through me, and it took me so long to allow it. And it's kind of interesting going into training the same time with keynote speaking. There has to be some script to get this keynote going, and I'm allowing to develop those skills. Yet again, that voice, that authority in me wants to speak. And it's very interesting to have then my human self freaking out, wants it in a certain way and direct it. Yet I found myself, it is gotten better and better as I lean back and I get out of the way. I am referring to my human self, get out of the way and allow the real I, that greater presence, the observer, to speak and have a conversation. So those of you who are on this call, you are experiencing me in the human speaking, me from the observer speaking, me from all parts of me speaking, and it's such a joy that I get to share this in this way with you. And it seems like a monologue, however, at the same time, it's not. I can tell whether you're driving or whether you're in your walking or you are washing dishes or you are in the grocery store or maybe some of you even taking a shower. That would be interesting. However, as you're hearing me, maybe perhaps you also are like, oh yeah, there are different parts of me. So I can embrace that. And it's not just one part of me. I've really come to this place of awareness that there is different part of me, and maybe it was something that you struggled like me growing up. You could tell there's so many different parts of you, and you saw most people operating just from one place, and you felt you are the one who felt very strange, awkward, alienated, and lonely until you came to years later to this blessed place where you recognize, wow, I was always in touch with different parts of me. And because most people were not, I saw through their lens that I was not right. Yet I've been right all along. And what a blessing is that. And that's something that I finally have come to embrace in me for a very long time, not accepting it, and also just feeling really alienated, lonely, and not being able to relate, and all that stuff, which on this topic of conversations that we'll be having together here on Ascension Alchemist podcast, I'll be sharing a lot, and I'm so excited to share. There's so much I want to share because a lot of you don't even know about those years that I was on the road. For a long time, I've been praying to God. There's a way I want to be able to share those stories. Sometimes in a very intimate circle, I talk about what happened with this planetary work, and people are always in awe of just the stories. And my kids are, I don't know if they were going to hear this show, but they don't fully remember. They were younger all those years on the road, and so much happened. I would come back and tell them the stories, and they would sit there with their eyes open. and then they kind of got blocked from it. And then I always wondered, would there ever be a time where I get to really share the story? So I feel through this podcast, I get to do that. And I get to also share a little bit with the Iranian Farsi speaking audience, which I'm going to do right now towards the end, because my mentor, Kathy Hiller, she said to do that. So this is all part of my training, and it's only been the first week. And I have to tell you all, I'm having so much fun. I'm loving this. I feel like I found my joyous pleasure, satisfaction of being able to do my solo show like this, and then do the show with Michael. So our divine union is expressed. You get a chance to see the energy between us and all that we share from the wisdom there. And then Michael gets to also express his portion, which is phenomenal. And I may have bonus, because sometimes I have these amazing, like whether it's a poetry or like a book, a quote, or something that I want to be able to share. So I don't have to restrict myself. I get to share it this way. And it's so wonderful. So thank you so much for listening to me today. Please leave comments on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Tell me how this was. Did the audio come in good? How was my voice? Anything you want to share? Because I'm learning, and part of this learning, part of this experience that Kathy has us do is to put ourselves out there and welcome the beginning, the mess in the beginning. I'm not a professional, but by the end of this podcast training in 3 months, I will be a full professional with all the bells and whistles. So you get to see all the steps into that. And in my now, I've already accepted that I am the top 1% podcaster. It's right here. Now my identity is there. Now it's the steps, and God Almighty has blessed it, and I feel it. It's so joyous. So please leave comments for me, and also questions as I get a handle on this. And now I'm going to share a few words with my Farsi speaking followers. So if you are not speaking Farsi, you can go on. And if those of you just want to see how it sounds, stay around. And for my Farsi speakers, it's the first time that I'm opening this space up. Please note, I do speak Farsi. However, it is broken. I do have a passion to speak my truth, yet this is also an area of challenge because the words don't come as easily. They come much better in English, yet this is an area that I am allowing myself to grow. So if you see me speak like kindergarten, because that's the level that I speak at a kindergarten level. So, and imagine I am attempting to speak from the language of my truth, higher presence, God Almighty, at a kindergarten level in Farsi. So that was the challenge, and I'm up for it. And so here we go. And thank you so much for Farsi speaking individuals who are blessing me with this space of compassion and understanding and recognition of the courage that I'm taking to just take this step, because it is very uncomfortable. And I also know when it's uncomfortable, it's more reason for me to do it anyway. So off we go, and here we go. دوستان عزیز، خیلی ممنون. من هانی هستم و خیلی خوشحالم که برای اولین بار با پادکستم با شما صحبت میکنم. پادکست من اسمش هست Ascension Alchemist. نمیدونم فارسیش چی هستش. کلن این قسمت پشن و دیووشن و کالینگ من هستش توی این کره زمین که خدا به من حالت دستور داده، آفریده، به من گفته چی کار بکنم و این خدمت هستش که من کمک کنم شماهایی که آگاه هستین، به نور خدا رسیدین یا در تماس هستین، که بتونم کمکتون کنم با اون نور الهی بتونین خودتون رو الاین کنین، فارسیش نمیدونم چی میشه، و ایمبادی کنین، تو بدنتون بیارین، نه فقط بدن جسمیتون، تمام بدناتون رو الاین کنین. بعد بپرسم الاین چی میشه. این جزء کارم هستش، چون وقتی شما خودتون رو الاین میکنین و ایمبادی میکنین، اجازه میدین اون نور الهی به شما زندگیتون رو دستور بده و یه جور دیگه زندگی میکنین، از طریق خدا در داخل زندگی میکنین. و این برای من خیلی مهم بود، چون که همیشه وقتی ایران بودم تا کلاس تقریبا ششم یا هفتم ایران بودم و همیشه میشنیدم آدم ها که راجع به خدا صحبت میکردن، ولی وقتی اسم خدا رو می آوردن، انگار که ارتباط حقیقتی با خدا نبود. من میتونستم احساس کنم وقتی هم بچه بودم که راجع به خدا حرف میزنن ولی خدا رو احساس نمی کنن توشون، اون حقیقت نیست. همیشه با خدا حالت یا رو درواسی دارن، یا فاصله هست، یا ترس هست. اون حقیقت که خدا داخلشونه نیستش و این همیشه برای من زجر بود از بچگی، چون من از بچگی خدا رو داخلم احساس میکردم و میتونستم در تماس بودم. و خصوصا برای کسایی که نمیدونین، من وقتی 7 سالم بود تصادف فیتال کار کرش بودم و توی اونجا یه تجربه داشتم که they call it a mystical experience و اونجا در تماس با خدا پیدا کردم و از اون موقع زندگیم عوض شد که تونستم دیگه فرشته ها رو ببینم، ascended masters ها رو ببینم، اون بالاترین بینگ ها رو بتونم ببینم، در تماس باشم و دیگه زندگیم از اون موقع تغییر کرد. و به خاطر همین از این لحاظ من صحبت میکنم. و سالها بعد یه نیر death experience داشتم که حدودا نزدیک 14 سال پیش بود که رفتم توی دنیای دیگه afterlife، وقتی قلبم وایستاد و تونستم زندگی سپیریت بالاتر رو تجربه کنم قبل از اینکه منو فرستادن تو کره زمین که بتونم اون کار نور الهی رو انجام بدم. و به خاطر همین صحبتش یکم برام مشکلی که بتونم تا اونجا که میشه اینا رو بگم، ولی این کار من توی این زندگی این هست که بتونم انسانایی که آمادگی دارن و میخوان از اینجا زندگی کنن که بتونن بلسینگ برای خودشون باشه، که بتونن اون حقیقت واقعا بهشت که واقعا حقیقت هست، از اون همه هدیه‌ای که تو بهشت هست بتونن تو زندگی خودشون بیارن و بتونن از اون طریق به outside برای دیگران این بلسینگ ها، این هدیه ها رو پخش کنن، شیر کنن و بتونن واقعا این کره زمین رو یه جای بسیار زیباتر کرییت کنن، بسازن. چقدر فارسی سخته. واو، خیلی ممنونی از اینکه سعی میکنین به من یه چانس بدین که من بتونم اینا رو یه مقدار را بندازم و بیان کنم. در صورت این کار من هستش و خیلی ممنون از اینکه این شور گوش میدین و خیلی از اینا توش داره، چون که فارسی برام مشکله. و راستی کتابی که نوشتم راجب اون تجربه توی تصادف هم یه قسمتش فارسی هستش که یه خانومی اسمش هست تانیا تو ایران تجربه کرد کتابمو و اون پابلش شده اونجا. کتابم هست The Day I Became a Superhero. فارسیش نمیدونم چیه ولی تو آمازون، بارنز نوباز، همه جا هستش و اون داستان زندگیه که از طریق وقتی اون 7 سالم بود چی شد که میتونین گوش بدین و میتونین ببینین، بخونین و هر کی بچه هست 7 سالشه تا 12 سالشه کتاب خیلی خوبیه، چون که راجب اون نور و قدرت خدا رو صحبت میکنه که هر چی تو زندگی به وجود بیاد و اتفاق بیفته اشکالی نداره، چون که وقتی خدا تو ما هستش با خدا همه کار میتونیم انجام بدیم. اوکی، خیلی صحبت کردم برای اولین بار و چقدر هیجان زده شدم که تونستم فارسی حرف بزنم. واو، خیلی وقت صحبت نکردم. من 40 سال از ایران در اومدم و فارسیم خیلی ضعیفه و خیلی ممنون از اینکه کتی به من انکورجم کرد که بتونم بیام اینا رو گوش بدم. و میدونین چی فکر کردم؟ بعد از اینکه این پادکست در بیاد میرم اون لغتایی که بلد نیستم درارم خودم ببینم فارسیش چیه که سعی کنم فارسی خودم بهتر بشه وقتی که پادکست میکنم. اگه کسی دوستایی دارین که توی دنیای spiritual هستن و higher understanding راجع به خدا، لطفاً بهشون بگین جوین کنن که آخر اپیزودهای سولوی من همیشه فارسی خواهد بود. در صورت خیلی ممنون، روز خوش داشته باشین و همیشه با نور و عشق راه برین. خدا نگهدار.